Welcome to the BTS Podcast episode 4. Here with Lumi.
Hello.
We're also here with a very special guest, Joel Larsson.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hi. Lumi, you want to introduce him? I Wikipedia'd him, by the way, but
Okay.
I feel like
What did you find on Wikipedia, real fast?
All right. So, he starred in several movies. No, I'm just kidding. That's the wrong one. You are a Magic the Gathering professional player, and recently you've been doing pretty well. I saw
Not too bad. I'm making my due.
Can you tell us about what happened recently, Lumi? What did you do?
According to my research, second place in GP Stockholm.
Grand Prix,
Pretty
Stockholm.
good.
Yes.
And you're the captain of the Swedish team for the...
Yeah, that's right. 6th year running, I think, even.
What's that?
6th year running, even, I believe. Yeah.
So are you the only Swedish player? Is that why you're the captain, or...?
One might think so. I actually was really close. There was this tournament this weekend, right? And in Stockholm. It was actually this weekend. And there's a good friend of mine and a great player called Elias Watswell that was leading the captaincy race in the Magic season, which is a year, by quite a huge margin. And but I managed to up him by 1 point by getting to the finals of Grand Prix Stockholm in this weekend with 1,400 players or so.
Yeah. I didn't know you guys play for it. In Dota, they just kind of pick, oh, you're the captain, and then...
They played for the captain.
No, there's no popularity contest.
Shit.
It's just about the skill, man.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually didn't think I was going to become the captain, so I played the Swedish Nationals, which is the other way of deciding who's going to be on the team, the second and the third player. And so I won Nationals, so I'm like, great, I'm on the team, but now I also became the captain, so that, so I'm kind of double queued now.
So do you get any special perks being the captain? Do you pick the hotels and food? Is that what the captain's for?
Exactly. You become the father of all the children. No, I don't know. No special perk. Actually, you get a medal, I think.
I have a question for you. In Magic the Gathering, which countries are the best? If you had to rank them, what's the top 3?
It pains me to say a lot that it's definitely the United States of America that are the best players.
We're the best in something.
Yeah,
in card
know.
games.
There's no NA Dota here, that's for sure.
Damn.
North America, the best in Magic the Gathering. We define the meta. Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of like the Olympics, though. You have a lot of contestants, so that's kind of, by definition, because
Just look, any game where you got to buy stuff, we're good at. Telling you.
Right.
We got all the people willing to spend their hard-earned dollars to buy cards to be good at.
Yeah, I think that there's as many American Magic players as there is in almost all of Europe, if even not more. Don't I don't know the exact stats, but it's something like that. Yeah.
That's the opposite in Dota. Way more European players in Dota.
Yeah.
Yet we
we
sometimes
can see
win
that.
TI. So
Sometimes is a very liberal term in this situation.
So you play Dota yourself, right? I remember you were telling me that back in the day you slap around PyCat in pubs and play with Dota.
Back in the very early days of Dota 1, yeah. I remember I beat him in a 3v3 tournament at a local internet cafe during the night or whatever.
3v3 tournaments, those are the days.
Yeah, I know.
oh man,
They closed down one of the lanes and yeah, it was weird. It was some local tournaments, but it was quite a thing. It was every weekend, different internet cafe every time. Kind of street Dota almost. Yeah, it's not bad.
so I got a lot of questions for this guy because he's
Okay.
a pro Magic the Gathering player.
Sure.
We are casual Magic the Gathering players.
Yes, we are.
We don't know what the fuck we're doing.
I believe.
I did play a lot of Magic the Gathering online when it was in beta.
Right.
2001.
Jesus.
Yes.
Okay.
I played a lot. It was free. For 4 months, they had free drafting for everyone. And you could do it as many times as you want. And that, I think it made me fail 2 or 3 college classes, to be perfectly honest. Because you could just stay up all night and draft. And this was Invasion Planeshift Apocalypse. Literally 17 years ago. Okay? That's when the last time I've actually felt comfortable and professional
That was
playing
before I started playing Magic.
I know.
Truth to be told.
You were 10 years old probably at that point.
Whoa. Well,
right?
yeah, that's about right.
1991. It's in his
Right.
Twitter.
Yeah, you're
1991.
Right, you're right. Okay.
So,
That's crazy.
we have a lot of
Great.
questions for you because you're a pro Magic player, and last week we discussed a lot of things comparing Artifact to Magic and to Hearthstone,
Yeah.
and I wanna
Right.
get your opinion because you probably know more about it than us. So,
Sure.
the first thing we discussed was RNG. We had the 3 people on the podcast rank Hearthstone, Magic, and Artifact in terms of how much RNG affects whether you win or lose. I know that's a complicated question, but would you like to do that?
Well, I think Hearthstone pretty easily ranks as the highest amount of RNG because it becomes almost a philosophical question, right? Because RNG is kind of built into the game in Hearthstone. It is in Magic too, but it hasn't really been a competitive thing to play RNG cards in Magic. As of actually pretty late, there's like one deck that is tier 1 that plays actual RNG cards. But other than that, it's not really a thing in Magic. The way that it is RNG in Magic is that, of course, it's a card game, and you draw a card every turn, and you don't know what you're gonna draw. So in Magic, there's also resources that you do not get for free every turn, but you actually have to put them in your deck. So the combination of lands, which are the resources, and other cards has to be well put together, and you got to draw them in the right order to have reasonable games in Magic. That being said, there is tons of way to kind of filter what cards you draw, etc., etc. So it's kind of hard to say how much actual variance there is in Magic, but say that the best players in the world in Magic, the best pro players, they have about 60, 66, 68% win percentage in Pro Tours and Grand Prix. And those are the toughest tournaments you can play. So that is also against, other pro players and other achieved players that have qualified to be there, etc., etc. But if one of the best players in the world play against someone who plays at the local store, they will lose like 1 out of 100 maybe with equal decks.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to pinpoint how much actual variance there is, but there's definitely a variance in Magic, don't get me wrong, for sure.
And your experience in Artifact? A lot of variance, little variance, less or more? Just your first impression, obviously.
The thing with Artifact is that there is variance, but the game is constructed in such a way that when you fall behind, that's almost the comeback mechanic is falling behind. And it sounds weird, but it's how it works. Like, for example, your heroes die in a lane, but now you get the opportunity to put it somewhere else, which is a huge edge. Like, you can strategize. Some decks are almost built around having all of your heroes dying every turn. Like you don't want them to die, but you expect them to die every turn, and that's kind of part of your game plan. So you can place them wherever you want and kind of control the flow of the game. So I think Artifact structurally kind of handles that very well. So it's also very hard to say about Artifact, but I think there's maybe less variance in Artifact if I would have to say something, but it's almost too early to tell.
Yeah. No Artifact pros yet.
Well,
So-
eHome has Linso, signed
Okay.
Artifact player. Okay.
Who is 1-0 on stage,
Yes, on PAX.
Yes.
He slacks.
but he had an advantage.
Yeah.
10 HP on the tower is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Does it count how many one-ups you're against Slacks? Is that so?
All right. Well, Slacks has a very creative way of playing the game,
Yeah,
right?
he's potentially a very
Yes.
good player.
Yeah.
I think he's very good, but I don't think he's winning the same way as we do.
Damn.
Speak for yourself, okay? I see the game like Slacks.
Yeah.
Me and him are mind's eye. We're the same guy.
Okay.
So the second question we wanted to ask you was about interaction.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
These games have various amounts of player and interaction. For example, in Hearthstone, you can attack your creatures. You can do a whole bunch of different things, even though your opponent can't do anything on that turn. In Magic, there are some decks that have a lot of interaction and some decks that have very little interaction. You almost don't even have to see what your opponent plays sometimes. What are the differences in interaction between these 3 games in your experience?
All right, so this is also a pretty difficult question. It's gonna have a long answer. in Hearthstone, I think Hearthstone is built in such a way that you want the games to almost be prolonged as much as possible with as much interactions as you can possibly have to make as many of the games feel useful, even though maybe there aren't, like that there's invisible advantages that you get during the game, even though it feels like you're keeping up.
Uh-huh.
If that kind of makes sense. And because of that, I think it kind of weakens the amount of depth Hearthstone can ever have, which is another issue for them. But that's another story. In Magic, I think Magic and Artifact is more similar that way. That there's gonna be very controlling decks. There's gonna be very proactive decks that doesn't really care about what your opponent's doing, with very little interaction and kind of everything in between, basically. So I think there's definitely, yeah, I think Magic and Artifact is more similar, and Hearthstone is all about the interaction, almost. It takes a very special deck in Hearthstone, like Freeze Mage or whatever, to not care about what your opponent, like very weird decks.
Okay.
Do you
Does that make any sense? Do you want me to go deeper on anything?
Well,
no,
we kind of talked about the initiative system in Artifact last time and how by
Right.
design you have to be interacting because you guys are playing one after another. Whereas
Yeah.
Magic,
Yeah.
sure, there's instances, but if they're tapped out, they're tapped out, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, the initiative system is like a brilliant way to keep the game being at a high pace while being interactive at the same time. Does that make sense? Like in Magic, if you play online or on a stream, for example, there's a bunch of different instances where you have to like pass back and forth or like pass your entire turn or whatever. While in Artifact, all those like kind of turns feels interactive with the initiative system, and like actually passing in Artifact is an actual choice a lot of the time, which isn't in Magic in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the initiative system is like a brilliant way to kind of get somewhere in between. The funny thing about the Artifact is it feels like almost a real-time game while being turn-based. It's because it's kind of back and forth all the time. While Magic, there's like, okay, you do that, and I'm gonna think about that, then I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm not gonna do anything more or whatever.
Actually, that's what Dr. Garfield said at PAX. He's like, it feels like it's a MOBA game, but in the form of a card game. So it's definitely more real time than I think most card games.
Yeah, and because of that, you can make a game that's not like full Hearthstone, which is like Hearthstone is built for the casual player who's more trying to get something that's very available to them all the time, on the subway or whatever. This and is built to be used in a like mobile phone, right? And kind of like that, and as simple as possible, and as interactive as possible, so players at all levels can kind of feel like they're interacting in the game all the time. But what does do is it kind of limits the amount of potential the game can have. Like you can release new cards every third or second month, but the game is kind of only going to be the same way anyways,
Wait,
because it's just going to be the same thing but with different cards. The way Artifact is constructed is that since it's becomes more complex with the initiative system and all of that. They keep it like at a high pace, and you feel like you can play it on your phone because there's a lot of things happening, and the game doesn't take forever, and you do a lot of things while it's still being complicated. So I think they have found like a path in between Hearthstone and Magic that could work very well for them, honestly.
I think Artifact will eventually come to mobile. And I don't know how they're going to do it because there's a lot of buttons to be pressing.
Yo, that's gonna be hard. You need 3
Yeah.
phones, man. 3 phones. They gotta get a deal with Samsung.
Yeah.
Right.
Get 3 phones.
I honestly think that there will be no problem in developing Artifact for mobile game. I don't see the problem, honestly.
What?
Like,
There's so many tiny buttons that you need to press, like your hero's ability and then
Yes.
items on your heroes.
no, I don't know. I feel like there's just you drag your cards and then you can like double tap maybe in your screen and you get a bigger picture of the battlefield, and that's it, right? There's only one button to press.
Voice command, dude.
Voice command.
You gotta yell at the card. You gotta be like Ravage,
Well,
and then
it's
the
like we
Tide
have
Hunter will
different
ravage.
priorities, but
I want 2 phones and then a third one taped to my head. It's just like in front of me, and I just pass them like this.
While it did sound a little fussy, what I said, I think the big takeaway is that I think that Artifact has an insane potential to be very deep and very like entertaining for a long time, while Hearthstone can be tiresome for a lot of pro players today that are trying to go away from it, while being simple UI wise and initiative wise that you could play it on your mobile phone, for example, which is a huge step in to find somewhere in between. Yeah, I think that's great, honestly.
I think the pro player opinion of how Artifact and Hearthstone are different is going to be very different than the way your average person that doesn't have a lot of time to spend playing card games is going to view it. Because the depth of Artifact for a new player is almost going to be overwhelming. It's going to be almost like, holy crap, like, I'm so bad. That's how people that have played with me in the beta have said to me.
Yeah.
You know, they learn the game, and then we play. They played against the computer, and then we play, and then, like, afterwards, it's like, for sure, everyone's just like, oh my god, I'm actually so terrible at this game. It feels like that.
There used to be a tutorial in the beta. I don't know if it's still there anymore. But apparently after the tutorial, you play a game against a bot. And the stat is like only 20% of the people beat the bot after you play the tutorial.
There's probably an interesting question, because which of these card games do you feel a bot can play better than humans at? And, well, let me just give you first an example, because right now there's a poker AI that's really strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you're playing Heads Up, Hold'em or whatever game, Omaha even more, but like Hold'em, where the computer can learn how to bluff, it can learn how to do all these things, and I feel like the computer in poker can be incredibly strong, but in these other games where you have to deck build, you have to do all these kind of things, it's obviously a more complicated game to play. So which of these three games do you think a computer could play optimally easiest, I guess?
I think pretty easily Hearthstone. I don't know. I just think like so many of the cards are so similar in Hearthstone, and the stats are more important in Hearthstone than passing initiative or using a card or a spell in the right lane, or when to play or not to play a spell in Magic. I definitely think it's Hearthstone. I don't even think it's close.
How is the Magic versus Artifact AI? How is the Magic AI? Is it good? Is it bad?
I haven't played against an AI in a long while, but they've always been bad.
Yeah. Artifact AI is okay.
Well, I think it's hard for us to judge right now because we're all collectively not at a very, very high level now. So we may feel like the Artifact AI is good.
Well, speak for yourself. I won the BTS internal tournament 2 weeks ago.
All right,
okay,
all right.
Lumi.
So maybe like if we look back in like 2 years or 5 years, maybe we will feel the AI is pretty bad too. So who knows?
Okay, so I guess my question about interaction then, it comes down to Magic versus Artifact. I feel like in Artifact, we discussed this last week, that we feel there's a lot of board interaction.
Yeah.
We feel like there's a lot of changing factors that you have to consider when doing that kind of thing. I think but our question really is about, which will lead into archetypes soon. In Magic, I don't know the current state of the Magic kind of like meta. Is there a lot of interaction between you and your opponent? Is it with creatures? Is it with spells? How does it work?
So very similar to, or I should say the other way around. Hearthstone is like Magic in the way that there's like in Hearthstone there's standard and there's wild, right? That you can play like the latest editions of Hearthstone, and then you can play all the cards. That's the same in Magic, but with it came out in '94. So there's a lot of different editions of Magic cards. And depending on which format it is, it's about a lot of different things. Maybe the latest sets are more focused on creature combat and kind of interacting on the board, while the oldest of formats is a lot about playing on the stack, which is what it's called when you play a card and then you respond with another card, and then your opponent responds with another card, and it kind of builds this stack of cards, which eventually resolve.
And the creature shit is more fun.
For
most of casual players,
I like to turn my 5/5 dragon sideways. Just attack.
I'm the voice of the common people here. Okay,
But I do
I
think
feel like I got that
Magic
mindset.
format has like all archetypes represented. I think you can do all of it. Like the event I played in Stockholm this weekend, there's definitely all types of games being played because there's so many different decks in that format. It's called Modern. So I myself played a very controlling deck that like waited until turn 20 before it actually won or tried to attack with anything and mostly play spells. The exactly type of deck you don't like, but there's tons of decks that play tons of creatures and tries to get aggressive, and some combo decks that just tries to combine a bunch of powerful, weird, interactive spells with each other or combos with new and old cards to have a very powerful one turn or whatever. So, yeah.
So, I guess the question is, because obviously you're a guy that plays a lot of limited. You play a lot of draft. You're good at that format.
Mm-hmm.
That format obviously lends itself more to creature combat because you just don't have the kind of deck that can do all that crazy combo stuff.
Sure.
Do you feel that type of format? Do you think limited is less variance for pros than constructed? I think that's a good question because I've had a lot of people tell me different things about this.
So, in general, yes, I think so. When it comes to draft and not like seal deck, which is another type of limited format, but
Yes.
there's almost equal skill in sealed, but some of it's harder to control. But it also varies a lot of which limited and which constructed format we're talking about. Like, there's been tons of very high variance limited formats that are not fun at all in Magic, and it's been the same thing with constructed. And it's kind of hard to say because, like in limited, the depth in limited is almost unlimited because you can take so many different paths in when you draft and when you play the games and whatever. But the thing about limited is it focuses a lot more on the like fundamental skills of Magic, which I think it's about getting small advantages out of less powerful cards and in different situations. And I think that kind of benefits the better player in the end. Because in constructed, you can, for example, play a very powerful deck that you found online somewhere, and then it's very proactive and it kind of does its thing, and then you can win against an accomplished player. For example, it depends a lot how large the constructed format is and how deep the games are that you play, and how much you can interact with each other. If it's really hard to interact, or if one strategy just curves out and does its thing, it's going to be over. It's going to be more variance in constructed. If there's more interaction, it's going to be maybe a little bit less variance, or if the games go longer, it's going to be more decisions, etc. So, but overall, I think limited has a little bit more tendency to give a higher win percentage to better players. Yeah.
So
it's because you got to know all the interactions between all the cards rather than just your deck versus whatever's in the field. But obviously, limited decks have less variance in what they have in them versus constructed decks. Because you might see some. You're rarely ever super surprised by your opponent's strategy in limited, right? They're not going to come at you with something crazy.
This is important for, like, when we talk about fundamentals in card games. I think this is important for every card game out there. That the way you become the best at the game is learning the fundamentals from limited, and this is a belief I've had for every game, or every card game, that is. Because if you don't learn, like, say that, for example, you play Magic and you choose this deck in the format Modern, and then you learn that every ins and out of that, and you learn that, and you play against all these different decks, and you learn what you're gonna do against them and others, etc., etc. Then you're great at playing what I call the game of, let's call the deck Blue-White Control. Then you're good at playing the game Blue-White Control, but you're not good at playing Magic, because when it comes to the highest level of events in Magic, you gotta be quick at adapting to new formats, learning new meta games, seeing new interactions, seeing what people are gonna bring that you're not gonna expect, and that kind of intuition and experience of fundamental understanding of the game, you don't learn from just playing one single deck. And that's the same in Hearthstone or Artifact, that if you, for example, have the chance to play a limited format or a more baseline level, you learn all the interaction between even the weaker cards of the game, and then you can anticipate new situations much better. So I think that's important if you're gonna be actually one of the best players in card games, for sure.
I have a solution to make Artifact a lot less burnouty for everyone.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's hear it.
you want to hear it? Blizzard, you can take this idea and just run with it. All
Okay.
right. You don't need my permission. You don't have to pay me. I would just like you to call it the Hotbit format. Okay. You take all the cards in Hearthstone.
Okay.
You make them all class neutral.
Ooh.
You have everyone enter a giant limited tournament. They draft their hero powers, and then they draft
Any card.
any fucking card. It's like PAX. You just sit and pause and you fucking draft.
Yeah.
How
Do like
fun
an
would that
auction
be?
draft.
That would be insanely fun, wouldn't
Well, it wouldn't be balanced
it?
because
Who cares about if
there's
it's balanced? None of Hearthstone's not
similar
balanced
draft
anyway.
moments in Magic. You can do that in Magic, similar ways. You can even go further. There's like a thing called auction draft in Magic, which is like great. You like have all of these cards laid out on the table, and this works even better digitally, of course.
Yeah.
Then you have 100 points, and they're like, okay, this card 10 points, and then somebody can upbid you, and it
Yeah.
becomes like a bidding
That's,
war.
that's sick.
between-
No, that's the draft in fantasy football. That's how they draft in fantasy football.
Oh, okay.
I like
Oh,
that.
there you go.
Anyone
it's
can nominate any
That's-
player or
it's
card.
So great. And it should work
Yeah.
for Hearthstone too, with the same kind of thing that you said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, we'd start, and I would nominate Time of Triumph, and you have a $200 budget, and you have to bid.
Ooh,
and
how much will you
whoever-
pay Time of Triumph? First pick.
Yeah, first pick
Out of a $200
And some
budget.
people pay $50 for a really good card, and they only have 150 left for the rest of their deck. You know, so that kind of stuff is really fun and exciting, and you can't do that in Hearthstone right now. There's not even a limited format to play against each other. You have to like do it.
Sure.
But I think that the broadcast would be so much better if they just came up with a limited format. It doesn't have to be as
Right.
crazy as the one I described, obviously.
We're doing that, by the way.
It's hard, right? Because it's like a digital game, right? In Magic, you can just decide whatever you want to do with the physical cards. Like, you don't have to go by software, which kind of frees up a lot of the
Instant we
ideas.
can stream Artifact. We'll have some format like that, guys.
Yep.
We'll have a big fucking board, and we'll do a draft. And it doesn't matter what's in the game, we'll figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think that tournament mode would be amazing. That'd bring me back to Hearthstone. I haven't played Hearthstone in like 6 months. If that format came out, I'm back in.
Okay.
I'm drafting Flame Strike or whatever first. You know, I'm in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'll pick a Death Knight or something.
and I hope this is my dream scenario that we're gonna be able to do that in the Artifact client. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if we can or we can't. But if any Valve dev is listening right now, if we can bid on cards and draft them like that in Artifact, please put that in the game. Let me do that.
Actually, that's incredibly fun because I think the way that Artifact is approaching how they're doing stuff is they want to have a social experience, right?
Yeah.
So it's not you playing against some random Joe online. You're playing with your friends. And I can imagine all 8 of you guys getting into Discord or something and just be like,
Well,
oh my God, he
yo,
bid 50
you
on
know
Time
what's
of
the
Triumph.
best? You don't even have to make it fake dollars.
Yeah.
Make it the gold in Artifact. So
Sure.
if you don't even use all your gold, you just have the gold. That's just your gold to spend on items.
That's
It's
crazy.
fantastic, yeah.
That would
We've
be
done similar
amazing.
things in Magic Where we like all huddle together on Discord or like some old chat program, Skype, or whatever. Then we have this huge like Google Docs document, and then you just write what card you want in like first and then second, and then it goes around and yeah, it continues until everybody's finished drafting. It's pretty nice.
That sounds sick. I
Yeah.
want to.
Let's play that. I want to play that right now.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
after this, just cut the
it's actually
podcast off.
great.
Let's
So-
just go and do it. Who needs to do the rest of this? Okay. So we wanted to bring you on to talk about archetypes in Artifact. Okay.
Yep.
So they are archetypes in Magic. We are. I know very basic ones. Same in Hearthstone. The most obvious are control and aggro, and like different combinations.
Sure.
We need to talk about, is Artifact capable of having these different archetypes? Because it seems like when we watched at PAX, they had 4 decks.
Yep.
All the decks kind of won in relatively similar ways. Some decks had different timings. Some decks were more aggro than others. But there weren't like big combos. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you could say Payday and the RevTel Convoy is like a combo. But it's
Sure.
not really a combo. It's like these cards have
It's
good
like
synergy. Yeah.
Right? Synergy between cards.
Yes. So are you ever going to have a situation in Artifact where you have a deck that just is like a crazy combo deck? And is that even good? Do you want that? I guess that's my question without giving away anything that we're not allowed to talk about.
This is baiting Joel Larsson pretty hard here.
This is heavily.
Okay. I could
Lumi, talk about.
I'll talk about what I'm about to say. So in one of the beta tournaments, Joel Larsson and I worked on a combo deck together. So yes, combo decks.
Oh, you did.
Combo decks do exist.
It does exist. Yeah.
And then we had 6 person on that team, right?
Yeah.
And all 6 players went to top 8 with Yo's combo deck. So
even top 6 even.
Top
7, right?
Top 7. Okay, so we finished incredibly high with that combo deck. It does exist.
It's insane, yeah.
I
love that deck.
But
it's so great.
If you think about it within the context of, like, if you think about combo in Hearthstone or Magic, right? It's generally you playing a ton of spells uninterrupted. Generally, right?
Yeah.
Especially in Hearthstone, like if you think about Exodia Mage, they have all the cards drawn and then they go boom, 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 boom. You're dead. In Artifact, that's hard to do because when you do an action, they get to do another action back.
Correct.
So I think the initiative system makes comboing much more difficult in Artifact. And in regarding to that specific combo deck that Yo made, we had to like make giant leaps to make sure that we get to play all those cards.
Before we get into talking about this, can I just explain to the chat viewers that are watching that don't understand how deck building works in a lot of these games? It is very different. Deck building in Hearthstone is refining a deck that you've played on ladder quite a bit, that a lot of people have seen. It's very rarely something that people have not seen. You're kind of refining and making little meta adjustments on these decks that generally people know what they are. You're never going to hit them with something that's just a completely like cowboy rogue or something crazy that they've never seen, right? But in Magic, there are these little clusters of people that get together in a team and they develop a deck in secret. It's some fucking clandestine Ocean's 11 type bullshit where you're in a room in a fucking log cabin and with no internet connection and everyone's fucking sitting there grinding away this fucking deck. And by the end of the development of the deck, you don't even know if it's good. I mean, you think it's good.
You think it's good, yeah.
You think it's good. You think it beats all these other things, but you don't know what they're making.
Yeah.
It's like the arms race, the Russians are making a deck that can kill you in 2 turns, You don't know. Right? So you sit in there developing stuff, and then that could, someone in the chat's like, that doesn't happen in Magic anymore. Well, it happened in the beginning of Magic, and we're at the beginning of Artifact.
It still happens in Magic.
So,
seriously.
We're in the beginning of Artifact.
I've been the pro for the 3 last years. It's literally a sweatshop for 2 weeks straight. 10 hours a day.
So you're sitting there grinding away, making your own deck. People will not see it on the whatever ladder there is, if there is a ladder.
No leaks.
And it's just going to be like, the intel is super important. And you show up at the tournament. You got your team of 4 to 8 people. They all are running the same fucking deck. And you just show up and you blow away the entire field. That's like the dream. Like, oh shit, we all top 8,
Yeah, that's exactly what happened in that tournament. I remember I was, when we were practicing that combo deck together, we were not allowed to queue on the actual ladder, right? We could
only want to see the replays.
We could only play against each other. We could only play against each other. And we don't want to leak the deck. That was the most Ocean's 11 shit I've done.
So you can't just, hopefully, I like that better because from a viewing experience, if I'm a new player and I want to watch some shit, I want to see some crazy ass shit that I've never seen before. I don't want to see some deck that I've seen on the ladder a million times. Like they changed out one card. Like, okay, great innovation. That's not very fun as a viewer. You want to see crazy stuff. You want somebody come in with fucking Rix.
Let's just say we have
Rix is the main thing.
10,000 damage in a turn.
Yeah.
What's that? One more time.
Is that cool enough?
What'd you say?
What did he say?
I said, let's just say we have dealt, 10,000 damage this record in one turn?
You dealt 10,000? The highest one I went to was 800.
Okay, 10,000 damage in one turn. That's bullshit. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, Joel.
I have 1,100 already. I have 1,156 that I know. But I think
10,000 damage on a tower. You know the tower's only 80 HP, Joel, right?
I'm aware.
Okay, so just letting you know that you don't need 10,000 damage.
You're winning, you gotta really show that you're winning, right?
Okay.
You gotta see how far.
We talked about BMing. This is the guy that tries to get as much damage on the tower as possible before he hits the blue button.
Ultra BM, yeah.
So, all right. So, I 10,000. Get out of here, dude. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay.
I think it's a lot more. I think I was undervaluing.
Okay. All right. Great. Is it good to have a combo deck? Is it good? Because I know there's combo decks in Magic, not very fun to play against. You kind of just like the other player might as well just be a AI. He's just playing stuff, and you get your combo off, you win. You don't get your combo off, you lose. You know.
I do want to say that the opponents I played against our combo deck have all told me that it's very boring to play against. Because at a certain point, they're just clicking okay, and we're just slowly killing them, right? So
well, they should definitely introduce a system and an artifact which has pass all priorities in this lane.
No.
No?
Passing priority and taking time is actually a strategy. Because
Sure.
then they're like, oh, he has cards. He has cards to play. If you have no cards to play and you just hit the coin over and over, they know you don't got cards to play. I wait like 5 seconds. Oh, I'm thinking about something. And then I hit the coin. All right? It's mind games. Mind games, Joel.
I'm the one having fun. I'm just going to, draw my entire deck and just deal infinite amount of damage. If you want to wait 5 seconds between each iteration, that's fine.
So I know a lot of constructed players love this control love combo decks and stuff that it doesn't matter what the opponent does because it means that the variance is a lot less. They just play their deck, and if everything goes according to plan, they win.
Yeah.
Right? Casual player, not very much like that. They don't like average shit. They want crazy stuff to happen. So in that way, Hearthstone, you got some card, cast a random spell. Maybe you cast a fucking Flame Strike and you kill their entire board. Maybe you don't. Maybe you hit yourself. Who knows, right? Yeah. That kind of stuff is fun if you're just playing one-offs. Not for pro players, though. So I think you want to balance what's fun for the average player, what's consistent for the pro player and fun, but still fun to watch. So I guess my question is, since viewership is not really a big part of Magic tournaments, right? It's mostly catered towards the players that are actually playing, right? It's not catered towards the viewer experience. They don't have that fancy animations. They don't have any of that stuff. Do you think that that's something that is important? Do you think they need to improve that about MTG? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, Magic is an incredibly hard sport to follow because if you don't understand it, you don't know what's going on at all.
Yeah.
And there's no obvious way of seeing who has an advantage, which is a big problem. Also, the games tend to be kind of slow. You can be sitting there for a long while one person is thinking, and it feels like if you're not within the higher tiers of understanding the game, you don't understand what interesting intricacies is actually going on while they're actually doing literally nothing, So I think that problem is going to be very hard to overcome for Magic, and that's just the way it is. And in that way, I feel like you need a more action-based game. Well, you need a faster flow, which Artifact does have. As we talked about earlier, it's like a MOBA game that's actually turn-based. And also, you need a clearer understanding of what's going on during the game you're watching. You want to see the advantages going this or that way, or whenever something is happening, you want to clearly see how that changes the game, and that can also be helped with good casters and all of that. But I think it's a little bit easier to see in Artifact because I think the life totals of the towers are a much larger deal than it is in Magic, because in Magic there's a lot of decks that doesn't even care if they go down to 1 life in the first 4 turns, because then they're just gonna take over anyways, and it's gonna take forever, Mm-hmm. So I think the indicators in Artifacts are a little bit stronger, which is a big boon for the game. Yeah.
Have you cast Magic the Gathering before?
I have. I casted a Grand Prix in Copenhagen. I casted a few smaller tournaments too. So I've definitely done that.
Have you cast Artifact?
I have
just
not
for fun.
Casted Artifact.
Okay. So your experience casting MTG, what was that like? Was it you just giving a lot of analytical, kind of high-level analysis of stuff?
Yeah,
was there any play-by-play at all, or explaining to players what things do?
There's one play-by-play and one color commentator at all time, working together, and one is trying to keep up the flow of the game, say whatever is going, while I'm trying to like analyze and trying to make people understand the deeper things that's going on in the game, and trying to understand some strategic choices, or whenever the game is kind of changing direction and whatever. Yeah, so that's basically how it works. Pretty much the same as in Dota or whatever game.
So
or whatever sport.
We've done some just fun whatever casting internally of just matches that we've played on the beta, and I felt like there's just so much to talk about. There's actually too much to talk about. Every little move that they make, you can talk about forever, and there's like a lot of different options.
Or even if they think about 5 seconds and then passing when they have options in hand, that you could talk about that too.
So
I know.
That part's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat. Someone's asking about tempo. They're asking about tempo decks. Do those exist? And for those that don't know what that question means, let me just explain it really quick. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's a very lucid term, by the way.
A tempo deck is one that aims to win at a certain time. Okay. And that's slightly faster or slower than what the other deck is doing. You know, like for example, if you have a deck that aims to win at turn 8, a tempo deck can occasionally kill them at turn 5 or 6, and they aim to have a certain timing to win the game. Is that correct or wrong? I don't know.
I think that's an aggro deck.
Okay.
Because the terms are kind of elusive in tempo. Because in tempo, you can kind of... An aggressive deck just tries to win as fast as possible, right?
Right.
While like a tempo deck is trying to use very cheap or fast minions or creatures or whatever game you're playing, and then cheap interactions to control the flow of the game. Like maybe they're trying to bottleneck your resources and winning that way, or they're trying to do something else. So I think that's just a larger, broader term. But you're not trying to control. You're trying to control the game in some ways, but you're not all in aggro.
Okay.
You're also sacrificing a lot of card advantage to get that tempo, right? Like you would play really cheap, like deal 2 damage to a unit, like Raising Shot, for example. I think the PAX blue-black deck, it's part aggro, part tempo, I feel like. They play a lot of like Strafing Run, Grazing Shot. These are not exactly really efficient cards. Yeah, but I would say that's a good example of a tempo deck.
Yeah, for example, Crystal Maiden, she's not... I wouldn't say she's an aggressive hero, but she has a very tempo built-in mechanic to regain mana, and her spell is very tempo controlling.
Yeah.
And gets a lot of early game while not actually trying to win fast, which is like interesting.
Okay, so
you want me to post the picture of the 10,000 damage, by the way?
I don't know how you can post it.
No, we can't post photos.
Yeah, we can't post photos.
Chill out, Joel.
Don't get baited, dude.
It's only the tower though.
No. What if they change the color of the tower and stuff? We're not doing any of that stuff. Look, we don't want to get in trouble with Valve. Okay, Valve are very protective of their shit.
You
Sorry,
can send
guys.
me that picture though. I do want to see.
I do want to see that. I don't believe you, so I do want you. I hope you show me the picture, but do not. We're not gonna stream that shit.
Yeah.
I will.
We will confirm nor deny next time how much damage it was on the thing. So I guess my question is: do you believe that these kinds of decks and variety of decks can exist in Artifact? Do you think that's possible?
Yes, I do think so. I think they're gonna look different because Artifact plays out so differently than Magic, even though it's very similar, or maybe even more deep. It's kind of hard to say, honestly, because it's a lot about kind of interacting with the board. Even the combo deck that I built interacts with the board in one way. It does win with tons of minions, but it doesn't like string together a number of non-minion spells that in the end deal a lethal amount of damage as in Magic. So they're just going to look a little bit different, I think. I think there's going to be aggressive decks. There's potential to build a lot of aggressive decks. I think mid-range decks is also a thing. And by that means... but what I mean with that is a deck that's kind of robust, but it tries to deal with what your opponent's doing all the time. And it's usually pretty good at containing aggressive decks. And I think there's going to be combo decks. I think the hard part is going to be to understand how to build a control deck in Artifact. I think that's the hardest.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that's as obvious. I think I built something that resembles a control deck, but I wouldn't call it a control deck. per se.
Which we're gonna
I think
see
in
is
the second tournament I played
initiative.
something similar to
Scared
control
trying to
deck.
get it.
I was actually having a lot of trouble building aggro decks because I feel like the rubber band mechanic of, because
let's ask him about the colors because I'm curious because we asked all our people to rank their colors.
right. Well, can I finish the aggro point
Yeah,
first?
sure, go
Because I
ahead.
want to get your thought on this. So in my understanding of aggro deck is I'm gonna kill their heroes and then punch them really hard at the tower, right? That's pretty aggressive bend.
Mhm.
But then they have heroes coming back, and then you just lose that tempo advantage or advantage overall.
Yeah, I think that is like a mid-range / tempo deck. I think
Okay.
if you're gonna be on an aggressive deck, you don't want to try to kill the heroes. You just want to
go
try
face.
to be where they're not
Okay.
at all times. You're trying to want to evade their heroes and try to destroy their tower as fast as possible before they can place their heroes and interact with you. I think that's the way to build an aggressive deck.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the really fast. You drop Disciple and you try and kill their tower before they get
Yeah,
anything to kill you.
Exactly.
Changing that mentality.
Something along those lines.
So my question for you, Joel, is can you rank the colors for us really quick? If you
It's
had
so
to rank
hard.
them, because we had a bunch of people rank them, they all said it was hard. We had someone try and cop
Before I
out and
say-
say they're all tied. None of that bullshit. We want an actual ranking.
Right. Before I say anything, this all has to do with metagame. But if I have to rank them, I'll rank them blue,
Everyone said blue first, so
blue, green. Then it's kind of hard. I think red is better than black, but it's
Okay.
super close.
yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, then I guess my follow-up question to that is which color is best at which archetype? So some of these are easy. I think obviously, if you're gonna build a control deck, it's gotta got blue in it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Lumi
Well,
shaking his head. Maybe not.
Not always, but I think blue itself
Not
lends to
necessarily.
control deck pretty nicely.
Lumi is also the kind of expert at trying to build control decks that aren't blue. That's kind of been his soul.
Yeah, I've been working a lot of non-blue control decks. It's tough, but
Yeah. So then,
No, but I agree with Lumi too, though. I think there's more ways to control the flow of the game than playing blue.
and
It's the easiest way to get kind of card advantage, but not the only way to control matches or be a control deck.
and then aggro decks, the types to kill heroes, obviously is red. That's the easiest way to kill heroes.
Yeah, but I think that's more of a mid-range ability. I think black is that.
I think
color of choice.
black by
I think
far is
red-
the best aggro color.
Because it can hit towers really
It
hard.
could hit towers, but it also could hit heroes cross lane. So let's say
Yeah.
you really want to be pushing middle, and then you have a black hero on the first lane. You could cast Gank, for example. That's the card that was revealed yesterday to help from first lane to second lane. You don't care about the first lane. You really just care about the second lane.
Steam
So,
cannon.
Steam Cannon. Great
Uh,
shot. So.
yeah.
Yeah, black is good at focusing and bottlenecking kind of your opponent's ability to interact with the lane that you're trying to pressure.
People are
Which makes it
spamming
kind of aggressive.
new hero out.
New hero out.
So-
Okay, let's take a break on
Get
our
a-
discussion.
Yeah, let's chill and
let's talk about the new hero. We got a new card coming out as
play
well.
Artifact. Do you think they're timing it to be out during our podcast? Because I feel like it happened last time.
No, I think
and
they're trying to
happen
release
again.
it around like 2 p.m. per day,
Okay.
each day. So
All right, we'll see.
we'll just say they are timing it for us, but we don't think.
Thank
they are.
you, Valve. They were like, these guys are talking too much about that hypothetical combo deck
Oh
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
made.
Let's shut them up real fast.
Shut them down. Throw out a hero so we can talk about it.
Right. Let's talk about the hero.
So whenever production's ready, throw it up. No rush. It is.
I would like
it
you
is
to.
Lich.
I would like you to not refer production as production. Their name is Artie now.
Oh, Artie.
it.
Artie.
So Artie, throw up
I'm not
Lich.
gonna talk about Lich until I actually see you there.
Yeah,
what's
yesterday we
there.
got baited
We got
about-
baited so
about
fucking
Magnus.
hard.
I've never seen this Magnus
We
card
got
in my
Magnus.
life.
We got.
I've
Yeah, I don't know
seen
what you're talking
Artifact.
about. What the fuck is Magnus?
Twitter.
I don't know anything about that. So,
I've
let's.
seen Lich on Artifact's official Play Artifact Twitter.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Now we can talk about
What does
Lich.
it say, Joel? What's Lich?
Well, Lich is a 5/9 hero, a black hero, that has the activated ability with cooldown 2 to sacrifice a unit. I'm just reading from my memory here. And
Reading
if
from your
that
memory.
unit has 5 or more attack, you draw 2 cards. If it has less, you draw 1 card. And it also gives you a card called Shamefrost, which is clearly Lich's ultimate ability in Dota. Costs 7, and it deals 3 damage a unit, and then it bounces to a nearby unit either to the left or to the right, and it does that 7 times.
Does it have to be right next to the unit, or can it be
No,
like?
it can bounce in an indefinite, like there can be an indefinite amount of space between the units.
Really?
Correct.
That is not lore correct. Chain Frost has a range,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
the hell, Valve. 7
And
times.
very importantly, it gives you initiative, which
Yes,
is big.
that's a huge part.
Oh yeah.
It gives you initiative back. So
So you can just cast it
you
3
could
times.
technically chain frost, chain frost across multiple lanes, like boom, boom, boom.
So you just get initiative. Oh,
just
that's
get
that's
initiative.
nice. Just a little bonus.
Are we good on the picture? Is that possible?
I think
1
Lich
minute.
is the most control hero you can almost get. Like it's just oozes control, right?
This is actually one of your favorite black heroes, right?
I love Lich.
Yeah, you used to
It's
build a lot
great.
of black control decks with Lich.
Yeah, I think there's, the blue-black.
There we go.
Kind of gold mechanic deck I built for the second tournament. You remember that?
Yes.
Look at this
Lich
guy.
was a big part of that deck.
Oh yeah, yesterday
Yeah,
we got N1 for me as the card. Do you call N1 for me a combo card or a synergy card?
Which card?
N1 for me, the one that copies an item.
Oh, and one for me. I would probably be a synergy card. Yeah.
Okay.
Did not condemn another ally. Does your opponent get gold? When
Yes,
you
they
that?
do. They do.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the nice thing, like the most basic thing you could do is you eat a melee creep and you draw a card, which is generally what happens 90% of the time with this
I know
card.
what Lumi's gonna say, and this is an interesting part. But go ahead.
Yes. But what you could generally end up doing, what you should end up doing, and this is what Joel did in one of the tournament matches that he played, he ate one of his hero and thereby killing his hero, which generally seems like a very bad move, but that means you got the hero out of the lane and you draw cards off the hero.
Yeah.
And that hero gets deployed later on
Yeah,
to a
your
different lane.
bristleback stuck in a lane. Throw
Yeah.
the Lich down. Sack
Eat him.
him. He's dead, and you
Draw
get
two
two
cards for
and the
bristleback.
bristleback's coming back in a 2 turns to try and screw up another lane. So
Yeah,
Um,
and this is especially true if you've already won a lane. Like you finished the first tower, and now you need to help another lane.
look how cool
or
he looks,
finish
dude.
off another lane.
Look at this art. He look cool.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, Lich-
does not look
Lich-
this cool in Dota. He's kind of a lame hero in Dota. Not gonna lie.
He's really lame in Dota,
Everyone
actually.
hates him in Dota. You play Lich,
Yeah,
everyone's like, oh fuck, like I gotta play against this bullshit. He's denying me experience. He's just fucking blasting me because he has infinite mana. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
In this game, he's a lot more fun.
I would say
Yeah.
that this is a rare hero. You can see the golden mark on the thing.
This motherfucker's working out. Look at him.
I would say that this is probably the first rare I've seen that I felt like, oh, this power level wise deserved to be a rare. A lot of the other
Lich.
rares are like really techie cards. This is a really strong hero, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He is a
Like,
strong hero.
The real important thing about the thing with Lich is why it makes him so controlling. He kind of symbolizes all.
We can bring back
control
Joel, by the way.
elements. Yeah, he has he has sacrifice, which gains you card advantage, right?
Yeah.
He has a very powerful end game spell that can kind of take over the game. Like,
Yep.
if your opponent doesn't have a ton of armor in the lane, it can kill all opposing units in one lane.
It can do
especially if
3
they're level
times
low.
7 that's hard to calculate, so some amount of damage, that's a lot. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I would say that the fact that they chose 3 instead of 4 is a big deal because melee creeps are 2/4 in stats. So
Yeah.
if they have a healthy melee creep, then it eats up 2 bounces a lot of times. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a big deal for Lich.
For sure, but you can also combine this with, say, a conflagration, for example.
Yeah.
Say you put conflagration in that lane from the last lane, which is an improvement. I think it's called right. Yeah,
Yes.
improvement that deals 2 damage to all opposing units in that lane.
They're saying 8
So you can
times.
put it from the first lane into the
It
second
bounces
lane.
7 times.
So then all the melee creeps are much weaker, including the heroes, and then
Sure.
Chain Frost becomes more powerful, for example.
So you can get unlucky. If you have 2 creeps or 2 heroes with 3 armor,
Yeah.
and the Chain Frost just boop, 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 and does no damage, right? It's possible that happens, correct?
Correct.
It is possible, yeah. Targeting the right unit with Chain Frost is also usually important because it's gonna hit that unit right, and then it's gonna hit to the right or left. So you gotta figure out, okay, so if it hits to the right and it hits back, that unit's gonna be gone, and then it has the highest chance of going left and right, and it's gonna, it becomes kind of complicated pretty fast.
Jesus
but
take the
generally
wheel.
you want to target it away from something that has high armor, right? Say if there's a unit that has 2 armor, if it bounces with that hero, or maybe a creep that has 2 armor, it's only gonna take 1 damage.
Yep.
So that lessens the effect a lot.
Yo,
This is
have
RNG. This is some RNG shit.
It is RNG, but you could do the math. Have you ever chain frost your own board because they don't have a board to get
Yes.
initiative?
I have. I definitely have.
What?
In a tournament too, I think.
Yeah. Well, the
Okay,
cards
you
that
guys
get
are- you guys-
no, it's cards that get
You guys,
initiative,
this
right?
is too much
It's huge, yeah.
next level for me.
So the
This
thing
is-
that it does is like it's this late game spells that kind of take control of our board, but it also gives you initiative to the next lane.
Yeah.
So not only can you cast this big spell in that lane to kind of come back, because initiative kind of works as tempo. Like you use this big spell in this lane, but then your opponent's gonna initiative in the other lane and maybe gonna stop your ability to do anything, or maybe finish off your tower or whatever it is. But if you get initiative, that's kind of like a free spell or whatever. It's almost as you in Magic untap your lands that you get initiative again, because you get to do the first thing, which is very powerful at turn 7 in the control deck, for example.
3 Lich, 5 me stuff.
3 Lich Fight.
I can't. This card
Alright.
too hard for me to play. I like going face.
Yeah.
This card's 5/9. It has an ability where I kill my own shit. This is too hard. This is too complicated.
definitely
for me.
not going
Look,
for
I'm
face, yeah.
Look, this is not. Even the decks I play black, I just want to hit the tower.
Yeah.
This Lich thing makes me
Right.
have to make difficult decisions. My brain hurts.
I
I'm
think
looking at
this
this. I'm
is-
like, I don't.
I think this is the only black hero where it has higher health than attack that we've seen.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
This-
that we've seen? For
Oh
sure.
no.
Right.
Negerfalls is a 5/6, but he's a weird guy too. Like most black heroes, all about.
Yeah.
Actually, PA is also 6/8, so I don't know what point I was trying to make. But most black heroes higher attack, lower health. But
Well, PA is functionally 10/8, right?
functionally too.
Against
Yeah.
heroes.
Okay, so interesting card, exciting card. I have a question for you about tournament systems and how prize pool is distributed. Okay, now hear me out. TI for Dota is very top heavy, and by that I mean, well, they've changed it a little recently. It's a
They
little
made
less
it,
top
they made
heavy,
it better, yeah.
but first place gets what, $10 to $15 million
Out
right?
of the 25.
Out of
yeah.
the 25,
Yeah.
right? So it's quite a bit of money for first place. I don't know how Magic the Gathering works, whether it's more flat or whether it's high for first. But do you believe as a pro player you'd rather have it be sustainable, or first place just gets a lot of money and you win one tournament and you're set? What is your opinion on that?
I think if you want to have something as a professional long-term job, you need some kind of sustainability. But the way you do that is it can be very different from game to game. The problem with Magic is that while you can, there's a lot of like sustainable systems in Magic where you gain X amount of points and then you get X amount of advantages in tournaments, like you get appearance fee for showing up at the biggest events and etc. etc.
They pay you to show up?
What?
Yeah, it's true.
Dota players get paid to show up too, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know
That's
what you're talking about.
So the game kind of has to develop that yourself. But then when you get back to kind of the streamability and the kind of how many people watches the game, etc. And the thing with Magic is, since it's so hard to watch and kind of stream, and there's not a lot of viewers because it's complicated and kind of slow. While interesting for the players playing the game, might not be so much interesting for anybody else. Means that it's kind of hard to link companies to have their advertisements in the game, which makes it so that the kind of tournament organizer or the people making the game kind of has to sustain the pros in the scene, because it's harder to kind of find good sponsorship deals in a game which doesn't allow a lot of advertisement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot of pro players have side jobs as well, right? Like, for
Yeah.
example, you write for different strategy website as part of your
Yeah.
paycheck.
Exactly.
And
It's
you're getting
part of my
paid quite a bit to do this
writing,
podcast,
like,
right?
Articles every week, for example.
Yeah, we're hiring you to do this podcast. We'll send you your giant check after the podcast is over.
Oh, I'm ready, my friend. You better believe it.
So I guess my question is, since this artifact's gonna have a $1 million for first tournament,
Which is gonna attract a lot of advertisers.
it's not
So-
just $1 million for first. There's a prize for second. Who knows how much that is? Maybe it's more. Maybe it's $2 million for
Maybe
second.
$0.
Maybe it's $2 million. No one said anything, so we don't know.
Sure.
Bruno, if you're watching, let us know what second place is, because I could be $3 million. It could be first $1 million, $3 million for second.
Can you imagine that final? Both players just trying their hardest to throw.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get that $3 million?
Who knows how much second place is?
Yeah.
The total prize pool could be 20. Who knows?
It's been such a weird interaction once in a Magic tournament. Both players played for the to be the one that can concede their match. It was a long time ago, but they played to be the one to be able to concede.
Oh, we're used to that. We're ready. We have experience in that in the Dota scene. That definitely is something that we're familiar with. But I guess my question to you about this tournament is: does this $1 million for first place only? Let's say second place is like significantly less.
Like
does
10,000.
this make you very excited, or does it make you be like, man, if they just spread that out, made first place $100K and made first to 32nd like $10K?
I think if you have 1K for only first place and then a lot less for second and down to even top 8 or top 16 or whatever you want to have it at, it makes me a lot less excited as a pro gamer, because that means that basically what that means is that they're trying to show the world that they have this large fat check being given out, and that kind of makes a lot of headlines, which is what advertisers want, and they in themselves can use a lot of advertisement with their game and maybe get more players in, etc., etc. But that's only for sustaining themselves and getting more money, right? And if they have a more spread out prize pool, that means they want to cultivate the pro community or make it more so that it's easier to stay in your life playing the game. Like, you gotta remember that Artifact, while being complex and very hard to play, and the best player is mostly gonna win, there's some amount of variance, right?
Yep.
There's variance in Dota 2 and chess as well, like at least hypothetical such. But it's a lot more skillful game, and it's a lot easier to rely on how much time you put into the game as how much that is gonna give you in actual prize money. Say that you play your brains out for a couple of years, you're gonna know that it's gonna give you something in those games which has less variance. In card game, which has some amount of variance, just because the way they're constructed, being you draw a card or free cards or whatever it is every turn, there's gonna be some variance, and you gotta have a way to sustain players that are great, but sometimes they're unlucky, right? You don't want to have to quit your job because you got unlucky for 3 months straight or whatever.
Yeah, Joel, but imagine if you win the $1 million.
You're set.
Yeah, you're set. You're good. You can play Artifact for the rest of your life, and you're fine. Or whatever the next game is. Artifact 2 or Magic the Gathering 3. You're good. You win that tournament, you're done. You're ready. You're fine. And Valve has shown.
Well, they would have both, right? Like,
yes.
If you have a large prize pool,
everyone gets $1 million.
Everyone gets money.
Everyone gets $1 million.
No, but I mean, like,
first to 10.
Top heavy and good, like trickling down, right?
Yeah.
So the way, yeah.
If they have a big prize pool, it's gonna be easier to attract advertisers, which is also good for the players because it's easier to get sponsorship deals or whatever it is, right? And it's easier to attract larger esports companies to contract you or sponsor you, or because it's easier to get your name out there because there's going to be more viewers watching a tournament with a lot of money in a top-heavy tournament. But it's going to be harder to sustain players also not having a kind of trickling down system. But so it's hard to say, but I would prefer at least money to top 16. I don't know. Not as top-heavy as possible.
Dota has these Cinderella stories of players that literally have made almost no money, and they practice really hard, and they get really hot for like 1 month, 2 months, whatever. They play really well at TI, and all of a sudden they're millionaires or like you could say that the TNC team that won 2 or 3 years ago, they got top 8. They got like 400K, 500K each.
Sure.
That's functionally a millionaire in the Philippines. That guy is set for life in the Philippines. Okay. They're like average monthly salaries less than $1,000.
And that's great for attracting new players, right?
Yeah, when you want to get the talent in, and they see this fucking goal, and they're like, man, that's doable. Play my heart out for 1 year, go super hard. It's not a career decision. It's like, I just do it really well for 1 year, and then I'm set. Obviously, that's not realistic. People play for 10 years, and sometimes they never make it,
Sure.
But that hope is what keeps you grinding late night, right? It's not like, oh my God, if I super grind, maybe I can win 40K for first. That's a lot of money for some people, but
that's just the same way that people attract more lottery ticket buyers,
Correct.
or like grinders or whatever.
It's like World Series of Poker instead of 100 poker events, right? If you feel you're better than the field, you're gonna want $100,000 tournaments. You're not gonna want one $10 million tournament.
I think the big difference is that you can be the best player in that weekend for the Artifact TI and still not win. Like you could just draw nothing but Thunder God's Wrath in Time of Triumph, and you just lose in your first game.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the point of having more balanced prize payout, it kind of prevents that from happening, or makes it hurt less.
Or limited format.
The more variance there is in a game, I think the more you need a more supporting system for the pro players.
And you want those stars, the guys that are like Michael Jordan.
So it's great for the game to have recognizable faces in their game. Like they want to be able to follow players, and they want to showcase them, and because without that, there's gonna be no kind of pro circuit or nothing to strive for. And without like a pro part of the game, the game kind of quickly dies out wherever it is. So
you want raid boss.
By the way, do they still call you Swedish Kibler, or is that no longer a meme?
Are you Swedish Kibler?
I was called that not too long ago, but it's less common now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since he basically transferred to Hearthstone, it's more become like American Joel Larsson instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think Hearthstone sometimes suffers about that. I remember when I was working at ESL and we had trouble figuring out who was going to win.
Sure.
Because you got to do these player profiles. You got to really invest time and resources into learning about the stories of these players. And when literally anyone can win the qualifier, it's very difficult to do that. In Dota, you can look at the teams and be like, okay, so LGD's probably going to make it back to TI. So we're going to do a feature about one of their mid players, right?
Sure.
Or, Kuroki or Miracle or whoever. There's a good chance those guys make it back.
Yep.
But in a card game, you could just not make it, You could be one of the best players and just not make it through qualifiers. That happens all the time.
Yep.
So that's something that's very difficult. I think we want consistent faces. So hopefully Artifact's deep enough and the format's good enough that you get someone that is better than people, and they're just going to be winning tournaments and doing well. That's generally good for viewership.
Actually, I want to ask Joel about that. Like, what do you think the tournament structure should be for, let's say, the first major event?
Yeah.
Should it be Swiss?
The $1 million.
Yeah.
What's the form? What
Swiss
you designed the format?
16,
What is
Swiss to top 8?
what
round
do you
robin?
think you should do? And is it limited? Is it constructed? What is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you got to start with constructed. Honestly, even though I think that limited fundamentally learns you get a game, but I think you should start with like constructed because it kind of attracts the most viewers early.
It also makes you the most money.
Because you gotta
You
buy
gotta
the
buy the
packs.
cards.
You gotta buy the packs. Yeah.
You want a good constructed deck? Buy the cards. Not gonna lie, that's probably part of it.
Whatever about that part, but of course. I don't know. I kind of like the Swiss system. It kind of makes sense. It depends how long you want the tournament to be, right? And how many players should be invited.
Well, TI is like 2 weeks, so
I don't know about 2 weeks, bro.
If you have qualifiers, sure, it's great to have round robin in like a 12 or 16 player event, but otherwise, I think you should have Swiss maybe.
So for people that don't know, Swiss is basically the first round you get paired against a random opponent.
Usually it's seeded.
Usually seeded.
Yes.
But let's say if you win your first game, then the next round you only get paired against other players that have won the first game. So eventually, you're 8-0 and you're playing against another 8-0 player. Like,
Joel, are you gonna go for the 1 mil?
Of course.
Of course. How many people do you think in the MTG scene is gonna go for the 1 mil?
It's really hard to say, but a fair amount.
What percentage of the probes would you say are gonna try it at least? If you just had to guess.
Maybe 10%, 15%.
Only? That's small.
Can't you? You can play Magic professionally and also try Artifact professionally.
I mean, seriously, you gotta think about it this way too. Like, if you're set in the Magic event or Magic scene and you're doing well, and you're traveling the world playing a card game, right? And you're literally doing your job your hobby as a job, and then you're getting enough paid to do kind of whatever you want, or like you're financially stable. It's kind of hard to like pick a new project and kind of go away from that.
Sure.
But if you notice that, like, oh shit, like Hearthstone is giving out so much money and the sponsorships deals are so good, and oh, this pro Magic player won and I've beaten him in a tournament, like I should be able to do it too. Maybe more will follow. But in the early beginning, I think there's going to be like 10-15% maybe.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to say.
Very reasonable.
I think a very large proportion of Hearthstone pros are going to try.
Well, yeah, but I think that Hearthstone pros are a lot more tired of Hearthstone than Magic players are of Magic, if that makes sense.
That makes
That's
sense.
the trend, what our understanding. I think that Hearthstone has kind of reached its peak of how deep it can be for pros, and it's
Unless
more
there's no
about
format.
it's not about like understanding more of the depth of the game or like kind of constructing new archetypes, whatever. It's almost only about metagaming these days, which isn't really interesting for pros, I think. I mean, it's interesting, but it's only to some extent.
It's also the easiest game to stream. It's so fun to stream Hearthstone,
Yeah,
and when you stream Artifact, I'm thinking, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard. I can't talk to chat while I'm playing.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? That's the way the Blizzard has built it, and they've built it beautifully to do that.
Yes.
Like they're very much, it's built to be available, easily streamable, to have casual players enjoying it, etc.
It's built on lore that people know and enjoy.
Yeah, exactly, and like cool effects and whatever, and it's very like enjoyable to play for like 20 minutes or half an hour or maybe even a few hours, but. Then if you, like the pro players are just such a small percentage of the actual players playing the games, but if we're talking about pros migrating, I think there's going to be a larger amount of Hearthstone player migrating.
Yeah, that's the sense that I got too from people that have tried it. They just want something new. It's not even that our Hearthstone's bad; they're just bored of like the stuff about it. They want to try
I think it's just a smart decision for the Hearthstone community to try, right? Like. You don't know if your viewer base would shift over. Like,
right.
So I think it's just a smart business
maybe
decision.
They don't stream, but maybe they just try.
You definitely
for fun.
do want to try it. Like, I think it would be irresponsible not to.
Yeah. And Magic, Magic sets are super unique. They come out relatively often.
Yeah.
It's always fun to, like, they're kind of like boxed in where like if you want to play a draft with your friends, you can just buy a set and just play it, as opposed to having to learn and like build all these decks that potentially have all these legendaries that you need from the past or whatever. Like
I agree with that.
Yeah. So okay, so that's cool. I'm excited. We'll see you first, right? First place. That's what you're predicting.
That sounds good.
Okay.
I like the sound of that.
We don't have that much time left. Do we want to do some gameplay?
Artie, how are we doing on time? How long have we been streaming for? I think we're okay to cut it short today.
You don't want to do gameplay? We're good?
Actually, I think we have another card, right, that we haven't talked about. Let's
Wait,
talk
what?
about.
Really?
Yeah.
What card?
It's not a very exciting card, but we should talk about it anyways.
Did it get leaked or something? What are you talking about? What card?
No. Just pull it up.
What the hell is this?
Legion Standard Bearer. Have you ever seen this card in your life before, Ken-chan?
Was this at PAX?
No, this is just revealed today, so we're not baiting you.
Okay.
This is a legit card that just came
I have
out.
seen this
Okay.
before.
So,
This guy, look at this guy's picture. He is so jacked and he's ready to go, yet he has 0 attack.
I was just about to say.
What is that? He's holding the flag, so he can't hit anyone with that. He's just chilling.
he's a flag bearer.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are comparing this card to a 4-mana 8/6. Let me tell you, that's not how it works. So the problem with a 4-mana 8/6 is that unlike Hearthstone, where you could play a unit in between 2 units and just
You cannot do that here.
You can't do that. You can only play it on the far left or the far right, unless there's like a actual hole. So
This is not Direwolf Alpha.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is a good card.
Yeah, I think it's a good limited card.
Yep.
I'd always play it in limited.
It is the +4 is very important.
Yes.
It puts a lot of things in range of very important numbers
Yes.
on the board. But it's it's not like some crazy.
Once I had a row of 3 of these next to each other.
Uh-huh.
Oof, that was the dream.
Yeah.
They were buffed then. Yeah.
Yeah. This card good with Lich. Buffing your creeps
Yeah.
up, you can
Oh
sack.
yeah.
Yeah.
You think Artifact? You didn't play Artifact had that strategies like releasing
Maybe
cards
you're
together.
synergistic
Nah,
and shit.
I don't.
Are you hiding your talents?
You're sacrificing a creep and now you're drawing 2 cards, bro.
That's good.
That is almost always
I get
worth.
it. I'm following.
Yeah.
I'm following. makes sense.
You should follow BTS Artifact too. That's
Speaking of
really, really high quality Twitter content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you just slid it right in there.
There you
Not
go.
bad.
Yeah, we
Look at you being all professional.
any last kind of final topics
Let me
you want to
check
talk
my
about?
question list.
Oh,
Did
you
you
got-
ask? Did you ask
Look
everything?
how
here?
prepared we are. We have a list.
Oh, final topic.
What's
This
your
might take
favorite
like
card you released?
no. This might take a little bit longer. Like
Oh,
10 more
okay.
minutes. 10
All
more
right,
minutes. Okay.
10 minutes.
I want to ask you
Wait,
about.
hold on. Before we do this topic, we will at the end of the thing give away the 2 keys. Okay,
Yeah,
guys,
2 beta
don't
keys
forget. We
giveaway
got
at
the
the
2
end.
beta keys. So
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I want to ask you about balancing overall. Like, Wizards of the Coast have obviously balanced cards. Well, I guess the only way they could balance it is by banning it, right? Whereas in Hearthstone and Artifact, because it's a digital
Or
game,
restricted.
Or
They
restricted,
can restrict you
yeah.
to play one copy. Yeah.
But it's like-
they almost never do that.
just outside the game interference, essentially.
Yes.
Digital game here, obviously, you could change the number, you could increase mana cost, make it attack less. But then the fact that Artifact now ties it to an economy as well, right? You buy 10 copies of Lich, because Lich is a great hero.
Why do you need 10 copies of a card ever?
Well, because it's worth a lot of money, and you think
Oh.
it'll go up.
Okay, I see.
And then they're like, yeah, let's make Lich Chainfrost cost 10 mana now, because it's broken. Then all of a sudden, as an investor, you feel pretty shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, do you have any thoughts about balancing overall, and how do you think Artifact should do it?
It's a very difficult question, right? Because you want to.
That's why we're asking you the difficult question.
Yeah. Okay. So you gotta find the right balance, exactly as you're saying, between like integrity of the game and the developers, and if there's like a second. So the thing is, like, if there's a secondhand market or like a market that's not the actual game selling you tokens to buy cards or whatever, or coins, or I don't know exactly how it works, honestly.
Steam dollars. Use Steam dollars to buy.
Steam dollars. Okay, so you buy it with Steam dollars. So that's the first economy, right? And the second-hand economy would be like people auction out cards for less money or less Steam dollars or whatever. Like, and I think it's very hard as a company to acknowledge that being a thing, because I think it's kind of complicated legal-wise. So it becomes kind of difficult, right? But I think you need people's kind of trust in the developers and the team and the integrity of the game for them to be able to buy cars with Steam dollars. Like, because if they change cars all the time, people would never dare to buy anything, right? So that's an issue. However, if the format becomes too stale or there's something that's too powerful, you got to change it somehow. Or you can print cards in the next set of cards or whatever that proactively interacts with the most powerful card well, or whatever. And I think finding that balance, I don't think there's a complete solution to that, but I do think they have to think about it.
It's a power creep.
Quite a lot.
The power
You can
creep.
also have like that if they change a card, you can get all your Steam dollars back for how much it's.
That's
cost
how.
to
That's
buy.
I think how Hearthstone does it.
Look,
yeah.
the problem with
Yeah.
If they don't have a rotate in, rotate out system, what's going to happen is the new cards are generally just have to be more powerful. People are not going to play them.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
also like.
That's an issue.
So that has to do with power creep, right?
Yes.
And that's also a dangerous thing. If you have too much power creep, it's going to be really hard to like produce new cards, and older cards are going to be worth less, etc., etc. So if you have a upgoing power creep, you kind of need to hit the reset button at some point, which is going to kind of lead to some dark ages almost, you know. There's
Yeah.
going to be a few sets that are going to look terrible and nobody will ever want them. But whenever everything rotates, it's going to be for the better of the game. So I don't know. I don't think printing better cards all the time is a good solution. It's kind of like just inflating the economy until you have to reset it. Yeah.
How many people are in your DMs right now, Joel, asking you how to make your combo deck and how many copies of X hero they're going to have to buy on release to try and invest in that hero when your combo deck becomes popular? You think that's going to happen? You're going to buy 2,000 copies of your combo deck hero and try and sell them later? Is that what you're going to do? Look at his mind. Look at
I
his.
didn't know how the
he's-
economy system worked at all. I kind of, just focus on the actual game, how it works or whatever. But sure. Let's do
Everyone
it.
watch his account. If he buys 10 copies of Legion Standard Bearer, you're gonna know that that's part of the combo. They're gonna be like, "Oh shit, Legion Standard Bearer! This thing's gonna be worth so much money." Joel Larsson is buying it,
Yeah.
and you can be
Somebody's-
like, "Buy, sell," and then people will take cues from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I do you think there's a natural counter to it yet?
A
What do
natural
we-
what?
Natural counter
the
to what?
combo deck?
Legion Standard
it.
Bearer.
To the combo deck, or is it more to
Well,
the way you play against it?
let's just say that we had 6 copies in top 8, and we didn't win the tournament. So yes, there is a natural counter to the deck. So
That's kind of
Yeah,
what
that
I
was
was
a-
doing.
that was
Called being good at Artifact.
that was feeling really bad.
Also
where
that.
we got
because-
really close, and then like we didn't win.
Six in the top 7.
6 in the top 7.
6 in the top 7,
and
but
we didn't win. So
that's
you know,
why they said there's 6 in the top 7 and not that they won the tournament.
Yeah. Wow.
6 in the top 7, but lost. Whew.
Feels bad.
Yeah, so it's I think Artifact is like I think the most like I didn't understand how deep Artifact was until maybe today. Like I'm still learning. Like I feel like every tournament that we've had internally has kind of layered a new level of understanding the game. Like it's like, okay, this deck or these decks did well. What does that mean? Okay, I guess you can play it in this way, and then everybody starts to play in this way, and then it's not only like that this deck is powerful, but it's every deck that has done well at a tournament, and there's been a lot of tournaments at this point, has kind of given you a new kind of depth for a new level of understanding of how the game works. And I'm not sure when that's gonna end. Honestly, it's been kind of crazy.
I think it's solved already. we peaked it in the beta.
Yeah.
All right.
But you're just gonna beat down on people anyway.
we
so
peaked.
why am I
We're
asking
good.
you?
Couple months, I think.
Yeah.
We're gonna get our Exodia Mage. Couple months and we done. All right, that's solved. You know, bored. Okay, let's do the key. You want to do the key? Oh, how do we do this?
How do we do it, Artie?
All right, we need to bullshit for a bit while they set this up.
Okay.
Joel, do you
Mm-hmm.
believe that monocolor is something that can be useful in Magic? Is that useful right now? And also, do you think it's something that can win in Artifact?
If it's useful in Magic,
Yes. Right now, are there any or high?
Is mono red a thing?
Yeah, is mono whatever a thing?
yes, it is a thing
Okay.
for sure. Some of the best decks in Magic very recently in the latest sets have been quite mono red, so
Okay.
it's been kind of dominating, honestly.
And in Artifact, do you think that's possible?
I do think it's possible, yes,
Okay.
because I think that while there's not lands that give you monocolor as in Magic, being able to play whatever spell in whichever lane you have a hero in, and without your opponent being able to kind of pick one of your colors out if there's 2 heroes in a lane is kind of a big advantage. So I definitely think there's going to be monocolor decks.
Oh, one last question before we go to this raffle thing. Are you a fan of being able to see an opponent's deck list before you play them?
No, in general, I
Good
wouldn't say
answer.
so. I do think I'm in favor of it if the event, or if people's matches are streamed so people can see it, then I think that decklist should be released.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
But
You can have extra information if you're watching the stream.
yeah, it shouldn't be a disadvantage that your match is featured on stream, for example.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how are we doing this raffle, guys?
It says type raffle in chat.
Oh Okay. So they're entering. We're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna
Well,
draw in
download
like a
is
minute.
not into the event, but I'm not sure.
I for limited because I play mostly limited also.
I play a lot of limited.
I don't like seeing.
I don't like how I could see their
Yeah,
deck.
I don't like seeing opponents' decks.
Yeah.
I would rather just not see what it is and be surprised. Even though it might make me lose a little bit more, I like that they don't know I've use my copy or
But that's the beauty of being good at limited or the game fundamentally, right? That you have to play on intuition and the understanding of the game, of the flow of the game. You don't want to make like engineered decisions because you have full complete information.
And you already have some information because just by their heroes, you know.
Yeah.
15 copies, like you know a third of their deck already.
Yeah.
Just based on the heroes. So, well, maybe not a third.
You don't want the information to say like, okay, they have this card in the deck, so they can deal with that, so I don't have to blah or you know. It's just like.
How much more time we giving Artie?
Are we ready, Artie?
Oh
okay,
shit!
We're gonna type the two winners.
2 people from the 1,100 people, so slightly less than 2% this time.
Yeah.
And we're
close
gonna throw
to 2% still. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna throw that up there. Let's see who won. So, we'll when production puts it up there.
Boom.
Flash Dotka.
You think he's Russian?
And Zuzu Clan.
Yo, that's my cousin.
Is that your cousin?
Zuzu Clan.
Zuzu Clan's your cousin. I think Flash Dotka, isn't that that's your friend, Lumi? Why are you giving your friends keys, dude?
I mean, gotta support the bros, you know?
All right, okay. Everyone thinks it's rigged now.
Smells like rigged, my friend.
Come claim your keys, bro. We'll pass it to you at the next family gathering.
Yep.
Okay, so what's on the docket next, Lumi? What are we doing tomorrow?
We are doing nothing tomorrow.
Okay.
We're taking a break. On Thursday, we're gonna have Fwash coming on, of course, one of the PAX champions. And she's gonna be talking about some topic that we haven't decided yet.
Okay.
But there's also gonna be more beta key giveaway. That's how we string you along.
Yes.
Sweet.
We could give you those beta keys now, but we won't. We're gonna wait until Thursday.
We can't have 4% of people winning beta keys.
Yeah,
only
4% is too high.
Too high. Yeah.
Okay.
We have too many of Lumi's friends in here, anyways.
I know.
Yeah.
Seriously, I didn't know Lumi had so many friends.
Yeah.
Joel, thank you for coming on with us. Is that your Twitter down there? At Joel Larsson 1991 on the bottom of the thing. Okay. Everyone follow Joel because you want to be in there before he wins the total tournament and gets a lot of followers.
You also want to see what heroes he's buying.
So yeah. Follow him.
Figure
on
out the combo
Steam.
deck. Yeah.
Figure out what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be. You gotta be ready, man. Watching the profile because it's not gonna be a secret for long.
Yeah. So follow Joel and follow us at BTS Artifact. We're gonna have more podcasts soon. More stuff talked about in our Discord. If you want to join our Discord, it's discord.gg/BTS.
I went in today and be like, hey, you guys have any questions for Joe?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And our Discord, a lot of people think it's about the boy band, the Korean K-pop band.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's about us.
Okay.
So get wrecked. Actual K-pop band. That's way more popular than us.
Yeah.
And thank you, Joel. And we'll see you, on the client and. Maybe one day we can play Magic with them. How crazy would that be?
You're welcome with my presence. No, I'm just kidding. It was great to be on. Fantastic time. Love to talk more about Hearthstone and Artifact and Magic and combining them and, kind of talking about the differences and the intricacies between them.
All right, thanks. Cool. Good luck in your next event and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you.